guys, just how I did just a couple weeks ago. I did my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I've done my top 10 favorite video games of all time. Well, it's time to talking about my top 10 favorite television shows of all time. Now, do understand there are many shows I wanted to put on here. In fact, I do plan on doing my top 10 favorite shows from when I was younger, because that would be a completely different list. But as of right now, these are the shows that I love rewatching. These are the shows I contemplate thinking about, and in general, these are the shows that have really affected and changed me into the person that I am. And the best thing about this, guys, is I want to hear what your top 10 favorite shows of all time are. So make sure to comment down below. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section as well, and make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you guys are new here, because it does really help out the channel. And in general, I just love talking movies and TV shows and all sorts of geeky content, and I want to discuss it with you guys. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Without further ado, let's get started. Down on my number 10 is Friends. This is a show that I actually just watched the first time, I think around a year and a half ago to maybe 2 years ago, and it really changed a lot of the dynamics, because when I was younger, I'd watch certain episodes but never in repeated order, and it was always fun. But this show really, when it gets down to the nitty-gritty of this sitcom, the best aspect of it is the characters, the relationships between all of them, and all the hilarious insinuities I can't pronounce today, but in general, all those hilarious things with those characters, in general, the relationships that they form and develop over all the seasons is what made that show so strong, and easily was the thing that really made me captivated every single time I watched it. Now, while I said it is at my number 10 because it hasn't been a part of my life that long, but it's one of those shows that when they took it off Netflix, I was a little bit sad, but now I'm just waiting for it to go and waiting for HBO Max to come up, so now I can jump back in and start binging them all over again. It's a very easy show, it's a very accessible show, but it's one that I just can't get over how much I love the characters, and they're the reason I came back every single day to binge around 5 to 6 or more episodes, because I was so obsessed with that show. Coming at my number 9, I went back and forth with placing this one in there, but I feel like besides the last season, which I don't mind, the rest of the show was near perfect for me, and that is Game of Thrones. Now, I think eventually this will come out of my top 10, to be completely honest with everyone, but since I don't watch that much TV at times, and I do kind of have a rule that if there is not 3 seasons or more, like as of right now, like if it's a current show going and there's not 3 seasons, I don't feel comfortable putting it into my top 10 until I see the whole entirety of the show. But still, Game of Thrones with 8 seasons, it definitely could have gone longer. We all know that. Season 7 and Season 8 were completely rushed, and when it comes down to a whole perspective, that's really my biggest issue with both those seasons, is they just felt rushed. But besides that, I still like the ending. I still understand where everything was going, because it did feel like it was leading there. It just didn't feel like it had the the time to marinate, the time to build up there, the pacing to get there. But besides that, the rest of the first 6 seasons I think are great, especially season 4, which I think is still the best season of that whole entire show. It was so intense, it was so enthralling, and Game of Thrones is one of those shows that I'm very much excited to go back through, because one of my favorite things, again, is the characters. I'm a very big character person. If I love the characters, I can accept and really forgive a lot of different things, and Game of Thrones has some of the most enthralling, most encapturing, and most accomplishing characters ever put to TV screen. And whether it's Daenerys, whether it's Jon Snow, Tyrion, or may I say Arya, who has one of the biggest arcs throughout it, or maybe even one of my favorite characters, the Hound, if you can see it right behind me. I don't know if it's shown that well. I love Game of Thrones to death, and it really is one of those shows that really captivated me, had some great sequences throughout it, and honestly changed the dynamics of what made TV today. And coming at my number 8 is a show that just had its 3rd season last year, and that is Stranger Things. This is a show that every single time it comes back, I get so hyped and so excited about it. It's a show that feels nostalgic. It's a show that takes me back to my childhood days. It's a show that just puts a smile on my face while at the same time making me feel horrified. This is what a great show is. It brings all the great elements of those old 80s movies that maybe were too scary for kids at the time, but they were still watching. It brings the adventure aspects of the Goonies around. It brings the horrifying elements of, say, Alien around, but it mixes pieces it all together in such a perfect formula. While yes, season 2 was just fine, but season 1 and season 3 are fantastic. It again has wonderful characters that I love every single person, and every single time they bring out another season, even though I still think season 3 is the best season this far, and even though I didn't love season 2, I still really liked it. It's a world I love diving into, and I can't wait to see what they do with season 4. And coming up my number 7, I actually went back and forth on this one quite a bit, and I'm a major fan of the comic book series for this. And I think a lot of that is kind of why, and I think a lot of it's nostalgic, and in general, I love the characters in here. I will get into that in a second, but my number 7 is The Walking Dead. Now, many people will be like, oh my god, seriously, The Walking Dead? But listen, I love the comic book series. Like, that is one of my favorite comic books lines ever. I love the characters that they develop, and I know the comic books are very much different than the shows at this point, because a lot of actors leaving, a lot of characters have already died. But I'm okay with that because of the way that they're changing it up. Walking Dead, for me, honestly, the only 2 seasons I don't love is 7 and 8. I think 7 and 8 were just okay and actually very muddled in a mess of pacing issues because they wanted to focus so much on Negan when that isn't the truth, because the most interesting aspect of Negan is what is going on now with his character. And I can't emphasize enough how much season 9 and 10 have actually gotten the show back to its greatness of what it was back in the earlier days. Yes, this show has changed quite a bit. Like, you watch from season 1 to season 10, you can completely feel the change of creativity and in general the change of showrunners and tone at times, but that's also kind of how the comic book feels at times, with adding different type of characters, adding different type of things to this world. And it's a very unique show, to say the least. And I think for me, the reason I love The Walking Dead is looking back and seeing how much characters have changed, whether it's Rick, Carl, or freaking even Glenn. Seeing where these characters' journeys went, where they ended, it's always been one of those shocking shows. And while the show is not as shocking anymore when it comes down to deaths and all those sorts of parallels, it's still a show that hooks me and makes me come back each and every week to be enthralled with it. Because seriously, the characters are the best things. And the show just ended its season 10 last night. Sadly, not with the best episode, but it's because of the whole coronavirus. It really much was a setup for the next episode, and they couldn't finish the finale. But I really think that finale is going to be fantastic and gonna kind of boost the setup episodes a little bit more, just kind of how Game of Thrones did. But for me, last night's episode had a great moment between 2 characters that I did tweet about, but I don't want to get into due to spoilers. But it really enthralled me, and it just almost kind of brought me to tears because it was such a subtle moment, but one moment that made me look back and say, this is why I love this show, and it's because of all the characters. And again, I've already mentioned because characters do make this show and make a lot of the shows what's so great, but The Walking Dead, that has always been the most consistent thing, is the characters. You might not love where all the characters go, but their interactions with one another and their dynamics and their, like, really their story overall all these years is the strongest things, and the callbacks and all that stuff is just great. The show is not about zombies and all the horrifying. Those are elements into it, but it's really much a character drama and how the world is affected by the apocalypse. Coming up, my number 6 is going to be The Office. Now, this is probably hands down the most rewatchable show for me to rewatch every single day. I love The Office to pieces. I love Michael Scott. I love Pam. I love Jim. I love Dwight. I love the whole Office gang and what it ensues. And while, yes, after Michael Scott left, the show kind of had a little teetering to go about. But while I didn't love the last season, and I really hated some of the storylines they put into there, the very last episode, the finale, is a perfect ending to The Office. And really, overall, a very satisfying ending. This is a show that really grew with its audience, and I think one of the things that I much loved, other than the last season, was just the characters that kind of developed, the relationships that happen between each other, and I can rewatch this show every single day and find something new to fall in love with inside of it. So I can't tell you how many times I've laughed my ass off from this whole show. Like, really, I think every single day, if I'm feeling down or I just need something to perk me up, I put it on, I watch a couple of episodes, and I laugh my ass off. The dinner party episode is probably still one of the best episodes ever created for a comedy TV show, and really just one of the funniest episodes or anything that, for that matter, in this space. I just love The Office, And man, you know, they've always talked about a reunion. I would kill for a reunion, but Michael Scott would have to be there. I would love to get kind of like an insight to where him and Holly are now in the relationship and where Jim and Pam are, and I think that would be a really cool idea. Before I get to my top 5, guys, I do have some honorable mentions that I do want to share with you guys, and those happen to be Batman Beyond, The Clone Wars, Better Call Saul, Barry, which Barry's not on its 3rd season, that's kind of why it's not in here. Westworld is starting to get to there as well. Courage the Cowardly Dog, and some of these might be singing on that other list I mentioned earlier in this whole thing. Star Wars Rebels, and the other show I really do want to bring up and kind of mention is Ozark. So I love Ozark right now, but I love the 3rd season. I said that it's one of the best seasons of television I've ever watched. This is one of my favorite shows of all time now. I need to see what season 4 brings us. If season 4 knocks it out of the park like season 3 did, that's gonna kick out some of these other shows out of my top 10 and move that one straight on up. Of course, guys, thank you guys again so much for watching this. It really does mean the world to me. Make sure to comment down below. Let me know your guys' top 10 favorite television shows of all time. Make sure as well to hit that like and subscribe button so you guys never miss out on content like this on a daily basis. Thank you to you, and a big thank you to my Patreon supporters as well, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Coming in at my number 5 is going to be Avatar: The Last Airbender. I had to include at least one show from my childhood, and that is definitely what I did with Avatar: The Last Airbender. I have always been a major fan of the show. This is one of the best shows ever created in this whole entire space. And I was really close to, like, I wanted to put like one kind of anime in here. I was going to do Dragon Ball because Dragon Ball's super nostalgic to me. I was going to do Naruto because Naruto was like a big part of my life still. But when it comes down to the most consistent and best show, I wanted to do Avatar because Avatar changed the landscape for me. It was actually like one of the first shows that I actually followed through every single season and really tuned in every single week for that new episode. And while I still have not watched Korra, to be completely honest, I've watched parts of it but not finished it yet, Avatar: The Last Airbender still remains to be a masterpiece for me, and it's one of those shows that had some of the best pacing, some of the best animation, and honestly some of the most shocking revelations when it comes to an animated series. When this came out, not many people were attached to it at first, but they started to really gravitate to it, and it has one of the coolest worlds I've ever played around in. You know, my number 4 is going to be Community. Now, this show is actually on Netflix now, so if you've never checked out Community, you really much should. 6 seasons in a movie. I'm still fingers crossed all for that, but this is a show developed by Rick and Morty's creators, and man, what a wonderful show it is. This isn't just a show that has great characters, once again, because that is a theme of this whole entire video, is what characters make TV shows. But it truly is the hilarious things that they go about in this community college setting, and really where everything kind of starts to go and how much has changed. Actually, when you look at the first season to where they went, you can totally tell that there was a dramatic shift in change of what they decided to do with the show, and that was very much for the better. This is a show that really goes over the top, but never feeling like it's too over the top. It feels just perfect in its line of what is going on in this whole entirety, and really one of my favorite things that has ever happened in the show, to be completely honest with everyone, is seriously the paintball episodes. The paintball episodes, the Dungeon and Dragon episode, those 2 episodes are honestly perfect, and people who are fans of Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, Civil War, Winter Soldier, the Russo brothers, they got their start on Community. And some of those episodes are directed by them, and you can very much feel the love inside of it all. I love this show, and I just can't tell you how many times I've smiled, I've laughed. I got a little bit thought-provoking when it comes to making me look at my friends, and in general, it's one of the most entertaining shows I've ever watched. And coming in at my number 3 is going to be The Leftovers, which, talk about thought-provoking. This is one of those shows that really hit me in the feels in every sort of way. It has 100 fantastic performances because Justin Theroux is incredible in here, but Carrie Coon, man, Carrie Coon is honestly near perfect. Every single performance in here, like, it was a major start for people, especially the younger actors in here. But the thing that I love about the show is that I wasn't the biggest fan of season 1, and what Lindelof was able to do throughout the whole series was really unique. So he took the book, adapted it into season 1, and I liked season 1. I thought each episode ended in a way that I'm like, damn, I gotta watch the next one. But it never, like, kept me growing. And when the second season finally came out, I was really like, I don't really care. I don't want to get sucked into it again. But once I finally watched the second season, I fell in love with it. It really is a thought-provoking show. And when most apocalyptic shows like this, because for people who don't know, The Leftovers is pretty much imagine if you woke up and randomly like that, like 7 to 9% of the world had disappeared, gone. vanished. 7 to 9%. Where did they go? The show doesn't deal with where they go. It deals with how do we move on from that. And for 3 seasons, it goes through that in such really unique ways. And season 2 starts to finally give you answers to that all. And season 3 really dives into that, but in a more thought-provoking way than I ever thought it would be. While it's still very subtle in its execution, especially when it deals with that, it really is about how do we move on? Where do we go in our lives? And I loved that for every single capability that it was doing. Season 2 is a masterpiece. Season 3 is a masterpiece. It's not the most entertaining show you'll ever watch, but it's one that's very thought-provoking and makes you really think about life in its whole entirety, and it's one of the most interesting shows I've ever watched in my whole life. And coming up, my number 2 is going to be Chuck. Now, I freaking love Chuck. I still want another season. This is where Zachary Levi got his start. Yvonne Stratovich also got her start, and I'm a major fan of Chuck. I love this show. It's easily the most entertaining show I've ever watched. It's one of the most hilarious shows I've ever watched. It's a whole spy parody with geeks, you know. It's so hard to get into, but it's one of those shows that I can't implore that if you just need a smile, like anytime I'm feeling down, like completely honesty, or I'm going through one of those states where I'm just like really down, I don't want to be doing anything, this is the show I decide to throw on my TV and watch because it puts a big smile on my face. I love where the characters progress and go. And while, you know, I love the ending of this, I know not everyone did, I actually still have hope that we will eventually get another season or some sort of tie-in that really builds up the ending to be even better. But this is just a really satisfying show that really will put a giant smile on your face while at the same time entertaining you to every single way that it possibly could. If you're looking for a good time, this is that one. It has every single element that you would want. Plus, it's a spy show. Who doesn't love spy shows? And of course, coming in my number 1, you guys knew what it was going to be. It's Breaking Bad. If you've watched my channel, you know I love Breaking Bad. And while I think Better Call Saul, like, I kind of wanted to combine Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. You know what? Screw it. Take Better Call Saul out of my honorable mentions and throw it in here. Breaking Bad is the best show ever created. It's a show that captivates you, it keeps you on the edge of your seat, and it just gapes you there and just digs deeper into this thought-provoking and really the character progression of every single person here, especially Walton, where everything changes. This is really the show that made me want to study filmmaking and all that sorts of stuff because of all the subtle manners that Vince Gilligan was able to throw into here. And Better Call Saul is just a perfect piece that kind of connects to it. You know, it's not just Saul Goodman's little spinoff. No, it's a total prequel to Breaking Bad in the world of Breaking Bad. Every character it touches on in there makes you care about them more in Breaking Bad. And now in Breaking Bad, we also have the El Camino, which is a fantastic, great epilogue to the whole story of its entirety. Did it need to happen? No, but it's a great epilogue. This is something that I've absolutely loved about Breaking Bad, and one of the things that, again, will be the show that I do try to rewatch at least once a year, because it's one of those shows that really captivates you, it keeps you on the edge of your seat, and just to say again, this whole theme of this video was characters and how much I love character progression, Breaking Bad is the epic thing of it, of how to do characters perfect. And I've never seen a show where each season got better and better and better and better. But Breaking Bad did it. And Better Call Saul is doing it. Each season gets better and better and better and better. It's honestly so shocking, but so great all at the same time, guys. And that's going to be my top 10 list of my top 10 favorite television shows of all time. Thank you guys again so much for watching this. I hope you guys did really enjoy this video. Make sure to comment down below. Let me know your guys' list. Let me know what you guys thought of mine. Are there any shows that I should definitely watch that weren't on here at all? I will be providing more top 10 videos because I'm going to need to do them because, well, I'm running out of stuff to do. Let me know what else you guys want to see from this channel as well. And make sure to hit that like and subscribe button as always. So thank you guys again so much for watching this. And of course, until next time, stay classy.